Hey friends, Luck here. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be looking at the iPad Air 4 in 2022. So this device came out a couple of years ago, but it's definitely still one of the best devices that you can have. It has the new redesigned Apple look, the ones that follow the iPad Pro lines. But recently Apple released the iPad 10th generation, which also follows this design. Both the iPad 10 generation and the iPad Air 4 both use the A14 Bionic chip. So the question is, should you buy the new iPad 10 generation or just pay out for an old iPad Air 4? Technically for me, the iPad Air 4 is still way better because of some few factors. So first of all, let's look at the Apple Pencil. So the iPad Air 4 charges with the new second generation Apple Pencil compared to the iPad 10th generation with charges with the old iPad Pencil 1, and uses the dongle, which for me is quite uncomfortable in a lot of ways. I think using the second generation Apple Pencil is definitely one of the best ways that you can go and one of the best things that you can do. Second is the laminated display. So the laminated display is available on the iPad Air 4, but it is not available on the new 10th generation iPad. So for me, that is definitely a letdown, especially with the price increase that you get with the new iPad 10th generation. So if you don't know what a laminated screen is, which I'm definitely sure a lot of you do, laminated screen just means that the hole that you see between the screens at the top, at the bottom, all around is technically there on the iPad 10th generation, but it's not there on the iPad Air 4. Technically, if you do add a little more money, you can move up to the iPad Air 5, which is an M1 chip, which is better. But for a lot of people, the M1 chip is not really practical. It's not something that we use in our day-to-day life. So it's something that is not really practical. And I do feel that you should just spend the money on the iPad Air 4 if you are someone who doesn't do like heavy graphics work or do lots of intensive things on the iPad Air. So that is definitely something that I think that you should go through. One of the advantages that the iPad 10 generation does have that a lot of people seem to really love is the location of the front-facing camera. So on the iPad Air, the front-facing camera is located at the top, which means you would technically have to hold your device like this to make a video call in a reasonable way. But on the 10th generation, it's located at the top right here, which makes it easier technically since most people use their device in the landscape form. That makes it more easier for a lot of people. And recently, Apple just announced the new Magic Keyboard Folio, which is something that a lot of people really like because it has the complete keyboard set, which makes it more useful than even the Magic Keyboard itself. But thinking about that, with the iPad Air 4 and with the iPad Air, you can technically get the Logitech Folio. So the Logitech Folio is definitely one of the best keyboards that you can get, and it's one that I've been using for a very long time. It is detachable and it is very useful over a long period of time, and basically is just like the smart case folio. For me, there is no difference when you think about the both of them. It is just as useful as that, so you can definitely save more money buying the Logitech keyboard and the iPad Air 4 in 2022 than actually buying the new 10th generation iPad. So for me, I think that is the best way to go. For things like the speaker quality and watching movies, I do tend to think that both of them have a whole lot of similarities. There, there's not much differences between them. The fingerprint scanner is located at exactly the same place at the top. So you have four speaker grills, two at the top, two at the bottom, but only two work. So the sound is not exactly one of the best out there compared to the Pro lines, which have four active speakers and give you really great sound. The fact that it has moved to the USB Type-C on the iPad 10 generation is definitely something good, but I do think the price hike is not worth it for you to pick it up instead of picking up an iPad Air 4. In terms of gaming and every other thing that has to do with the chipset, both of them will basically perform exactly the same way since both of them do have the A14 Bionic chip. So there is nothing better than the other one in the both of them. I think this is just up to you. both of them have different colorways that you can choose from. So if you are about color, then probably you move left or you move right on this one. It just depends on you personally as an individual. For me, in terms of performance, in terms of look, in terms of usability, in terms of reliability, I do think the iPad Air 4 will be better than the iPad 10 generation. Since the iPad either way tend to have a long shelf life in terms of receiving software updates, I do think the iPad Air 4 will definitely be one of the best devices that you can definitely pick up. So you guys can tell me what you think about these two devices. I am definitely going to pick up the iPad 10 generation later to do a more detailed comparison. So you guys can tell me what you think about these two devices, which one you think is better, the iPad Air 4 or the iPad 10 generation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys in the next one.